Thanks a lot, Rahul. Thanks a lot.
No problem.
I'm going to share my screen in a second, but I just thought before we kick off, just to say hi to everyone. Thank you for spending this time to listen to Rupesh and I. Just by way of brief background, my name's Paul Griffiths. I run a consultancy called Client Advocates, and we work with heads of insight in insight businesses to help make their insight functions more impactful and help them increase their commercial impact, within their businesses. And I also work with research agencies, helping them grow revenues and profits. Rupesh, do you want to just give yourself a brief intro?
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Rupesh. I write an insight blog called Insight Bumble. It's a client-side blog, so I just wanted to give a client-side perspective out there. So it's a bit of fun for me. But actually, my day job is I'm a head of insight at Samsung. So I'm liaising really closely with marketeers, really closely with media agencies and creative agencies to drive through campaign effectiveness. So that's me in a nutshell.
Cool. And just by way of background, Roops and I used to work together. We've known each other for well over 10 years now. What we want to try and do today is talk about an issue which we both feel really strongly about, and which I think has come even more to the fore now with what's been going on with COVID and what's been going on with budgets being cut. So what are we going to talk about today? We want to talk about what can insight teams do to increase their commercial relevance, and as a result of that, win the battle for scarce marketing budgets. I was on a call with a head of insight the other week, and they were saying that not only are their budgets being cut, but they're actually having to being forced to compete with other parts of the marketing function for budget. So what can marketing insight, market research and insight teams do to increase their commercial relevance? Moreover, what can insight agencies, how can insight agencies actually help their clients to do that, so that they gain access to those really key commercial decision makers, the CMOs of this world? And then finally, Roops and I just want to talk you through and introduce you to Project Stopcock, which is kind of a thing that we've pulled together. It's Roops' idea originally. And what we're trying to do is we're going to try and do something which will help the industry retain and grow its influence and its relevance. But we understand it's an ongoing issue. I mean, Roops and I have been in the industry for me 20 years. Roops must be nearly 15. And I think our starting point was that we were talking earlier during the pandemic about this issue of, you see the bellwether report, and market research budgets have been in decline for goodness knows how long, but they're even more steeply in decline. You've got an issue where the industry is really sort of struggling with the fact that it can't seem to get commercial cut through. You've got the issue that with digitalization, there are more and more requirements for instant data, or data that's very, very quickly turned around, which is not necessarily perfect or right, but is giving people a commercial steer. Roops, what's your kind of...
Yeah, look, for me, it starts with when the COVID and the lockdown hit, the emails came flying from the top, from CMOs, from end users, and the answer was stop research. That frustrated me deep down. As an insight person, I'm like, hold on, you've been banging on about being customer first. You've been talking to Marketing Week, and you've been listening to Mark Ritson and these guys all telling you have to be customer first led strategies. Yet the first thing that you're doing is you're stopping insight budget as soon as a crisis hits. So that's where my starting point started, and that's probably a frustration that we've been living with for a while, and it's just got worse. And the bigger thing for me is actually, if we reflect as an industry and think, why did that happen? It wasn't insight heads and client-siders like me. It wasn't agencies that were stopping that. It was the end users and the CMOs and the CPOs turning around and going, I haven't really been getting value up until now, so let's cut that. And actually, our spend is far less than those of the media agencies and the creative agencies, etc. So when the finance guy asks for money back, why is it that we are the first to be dropped? And that's something that I really think we need to fight.
Yeah. And the irony is, of course, is I know because I sit in between the agencies and the clients, I hear it from both sides, and so clients want they want to protect their budgets. They want to make the case for why they're commercially relevant, and agencies want to kind of help their clients do that, and they want to win those budgets because that's how they generate their revenue and their profit. And yet neither side of neither side of the equation, the clients or the agencies, seem to be able to do enough on their own to be able to break through and to get access to those CMOs.
And you hit the nail on the head there, Paul, which is agencies and clients, and you hear it from both. They need to get closer. We shouldn't be acting as two parts now. We are one industry. We need to get together and really innovate and think about how we're going to tackle this issue, because it's getting to the point where it needs to be solved.
Yeah. Okay. So, and Rupesh, obviously, he's a head of Insight. So Rupesh has got some really clear views on this. But what do you think heads of Insight should be doing, Rupes?
Like number one is the commercial relevance. If you are going to get the attention of your end user or your C-level person, and we've talked about kind of getting access to C-level, etc., in so many ways. But bottom line is, as heads of Insight, you need to take every data point, every bit of insight that you ever get, and understand how does it impact the company's money, time, or value. And that's how you need to position it. So, for example, if you are getting a creative pre-test out there and you get a score which says this creative is highly memorable, and it's got 55% memorability. Well, what does that mean to the media budget? What does that mean to the multiplier on ad stock, etc.? You're really, really showing the money value of each of those KPIs or metrics. Number two is you need to go, right, there are certain projects that you're just going to do and certain things that you just have to run as an insight person, but you need to take time out and go, what is the proactive piece that I am going to sell in to the board level? And you need to do that. You're not at a fast food restaurant, and taking an order of what someone wants. You're at a fine dining restaurant and you're going to say, what would you like? But I've got a suggestion for you to drive your revenue up, drive your whatever. Yeah. So be proactive with your projects. And third and most important to me is let's start opening up the door for our agencies to come and stand side by side with us to go to our end users. This is not a linear process anymore. Those of us client side that think it is, it has to change. I want to stand side by side with a really strategic agency, and both of us walk in the door to CMOs and end users and go, this is what the two of us want to do, and this is what the two of us need to do. And
why do you think that doesn't happen at the moment, Rupes?
We've been talking about it, and every time that we talk about it, I just walk away with the word trust. Unless you've got that trust, and that trust boils down to, Paul, me and you work together. I know that you are able to turn my insights into commercially relevant conversations.
Yeah.
I need to have that same trust with all my agencies. So if there are agencies who are just field and tab, tell them, sorry, you're field and tab. Tell the other agency, maybe it's a boutique agency, maybe it's a big agency, and work with the best there and go, you are my strategic insight partner. And they are. If they convert themselves into a strategic insight agency when you allow them access. And that access means really working with them with what problem you're going to solve.
Okay. I mean, it's interesting. One of the things, some of the end clients that I've been working with over the last couple of years, we've tried to put in place some almost an insight strategy, and it comes back to that thing you were saying about order takers. So, a lot of the client side people I talk to sort of say, we are bombarded continually by requests from the business for this bit of data or that bit of information, and we spend a lot of our time literally running around like headless chickens, trying to meet everybody's needs. And it's my observation is you almost need to flip it, and you say, yeah, we'll do some of that, but actually there are things we could be doing as heads of insight to cut out on that work, whether that be using better platforms or systems or technologies or whatever else. But part of it's actually about having heads of insight who have got the the will and have got the commercial sense to have almost an insight strategy that says, right, this is our commercial this is our commercial objectives in the business. This is how this relates then to what we do as an insight team. And that kind of, my observation is that does seem to switch it from being we're order takers, we're just running around, we're at everyone's behest, to actually trying to start to become commercial partners with stakeholders in the business.
Yeah, and you pick up on a good point. Look, as a head of insight myself, I know there are requests that are coming from my peers, and I know that I'm going to have to, and I'm giving them data, and I'm giving them reports, not insight. I'm giving them reports. Do it. 20% max. That's your capacity as an head of insight. You've got 20% capacity to give out reporting of data. The rest of that time, of the 80%, needs to be focused on distilling down. Lack of method. You don't need to go into method. Just go, customer said this, do this. That will make you more money. And that's the focus, and you need to have time. And now when you need to work with agencies to be able to do that. So on the flip side, you need to communicate to the agency and the partner to say, right, you are my partner for this. Yeah. So yes, can you give me someone senior, someone who understands my business in really commercial way, and they're going to help me shape that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So on that basis, I mean, and I'm very mindful of the fact that, again, the conversations I have with agencies, most agency owners and heads and senior people go, we would love to get access to the senior people in our clients' businesses, and we're not able to do that. We're not allowed to do that. So what you're very clearly saying, I think, Roops, is that as a head of insight, it's heads of insight should be encouraged and should embrace that opportunity to let their agencies nearer those key stakeholders, as long as, to your point, there's that trust. But what do you think, in terms of what agencies can do to help, if a head of insight is giving them that permission, or is saying, look, I want to be a strategic partner with you, and we'll go together to the CMO or the senior people, what do you think are the things that an agency can do? I mean, the things I'm wondering around are around, do agencies have to improve the way that they are commercially focused? Is it around being better at understanding the end client's business and framing what they're doing in commercial terms, not just research terms, do you think?
Yeah, look, let's break that word commercial relevance down a little bit. And it's exactly what you said, which is the business operates in a certain business model, right? And there are some decisions it can and cannot make because of its own constraints. Question number one to agency is, do you understand that? Do you know what things that business or that person, that end user can actually change?
Yeah.
Number two is, what information, data, insight do you have that can impact that? And that is it. And if you feel confident as an agency to be able to stitch those two things together, bypass the client-sider, have the balls, have the courage, and just go. And I tell you why, because I've seen it. I've seen creative agencies and I've seen media agencies do exactly that. They bypass their internal stakeholder, go straight to the top, and they go, hey, I know your business, blah, blah, blah. This is what I think you should do. Invest in Facebook, invest in, make a creative that's like this, whatever. Then the CMO or the end user filters down to the internal media creative guy and says, I just had the agency in, they told me X, go and do it. Hey, if that happened in the insight world, it's a win for me as a client-sider, because I've got a new project on the go. Two, it's another project that probably I believe in. Yeah. Now, what I do suggest though is that the agency comes proactively to the client-sider and says, look, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? Use the expertise of the client-sider. Use me as a data source and go, right, Roops, I had this idea that we do that your company does this. And I can tell you the barriers for that implementation, etc. And take it. Now, I don't know whether other heads of insight like myself want to allow that, because I can see it now. Their toes are curling, their teeth are grinding. They're like, Roops, sorry to swear, but Roops, don't let them fucking do that. Like, they're going to make a fool of themselves. They're gonna make themselves look stupid, and I don't want that. Yeah, the way to reduce your risk is to make sure you truly understand. If you have not had full access, do not go, because you are unlikely to have a solution that is going to be heard. So work really, really closely. And so for me, be commercial, be proactive. And then the other thing is for agencies, agencies recommend this to marketers all the time. Segment your consumer. Same. Agencies, segment your consumer. And there's only two segments. There's segment insight guy. Yeah. There's segment insight guy who knows his difference between his qual, conjoint, etc. And then there's the end user.
Yeah. Okay.
So and the end user marketing, I'm not sure how many agencies out there are really have a marketing person in their B2B marketeer that's marketing to the CMO and end user. Okay. There really should be.
So that's what that's saying to me is agencies need to be far more commercially astute. They need to be, they need to probably be more assertive in kind of coming to their heads of insight clients and going, look, I've had this idea. This is what we're doing with another one of your, someone else in the marketplace, or this is something we're doing with another client. We think this is relevant to you, and not just from a methodological. This is another great way of doing social media, social media listening or brand tracking or whatever else, but actually around the commercial issues of the business.
Leave that at the door.
Yeah. Okay.
Leave the method at the door. If you're going to go into those end users and start talking about regressions and all that stuff, leave that at the door. You just need to go in and go, look, we have spoken to X number of your customers in the last 12 months. Yeah. There's no one in your business that has spoken to more customers than this agency. Yeah. So what we have gathered that you probably haven't seen in some of the reports yet is that we think that you should launch that product. Or we think that you should do. Now, if you turn around to them and go launch a new product, like 9 times out of 10, they probably come up with that idea already. They probably understand the barrier. They probably haven't done it because there's certain internal barriers. But suggest that idea to the internal insight guy and work with them. And an internal insight client sider needs to go and really spend time, like genuinely cut out time in your diary and really think about those ideas. Throw the barriers and work together to navigate through those barriers to whatever that suggestion is. And guess what? At the end of that conversation is going to be, you need to do a little bit more research for X, thereby a little bit more revenue into our industry, and thereby more valuable research into our industry. And when the next lockdown, hopefully it doesn't happen, with some crisis happens, is when somebody says, finance guy goes, give me some money back.
Yeah.
The first thing not to go is our insight budget.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Right. So, what is Project Stopcock? So, I have to. This is. I have to say, this is Roops's project name. I think it's slightly balmy, but we're hoping it's going to get cut through. So, what is Project Stopcock?
Roop,
take it away.
Yeah, look. For me, sorry about the wacky name, but I'm actually getting a home extent. I'm actually getting some plumbing done, and I thought to myself, that's exactly what happened, right? The CMO or the CEO turned the tap off right from the top, and then us insight people were like, "What? You want my money back? And you're not letting me do any more research? Hold on, this is the time." And a good article written previously about how right now a lockdown was a great time where consumers were giving us their information and their insight. We should have been investing a little bit more in understanding consumers, and we didn't. And for me, what I want to understand is exactly this conversation we've been having today, which is, do CMOs want to have a meeting with our agencies? Number one, yeah, because they have, a lot of CMOs have monthly meetings with their lead creative agency and lead media agency. Why are they not having monthlies with their lead research? Some are, admittedly, but it should be every client sider should be doing that. Secondly, are client siders like myself willing to let agencies go and do that and go and talk directly to end users? And what are the barriers there? And then talking to agencies and trying to think, okay, well, how much confidence do agencies have in themselves to go and do that? And what tools and information and knowledge do they really want? Because it's now's the time for us where we've got to act as one industry. This is not This is not agency people. This is not client side people. This is the insight industry needs to figure out how we're going to work together to increase the value of what we do, because we do produce extremely valuable stuff to our businesses, and that we are taking ownership of that, and that is something that our end users value, not and value it more than other things, because I truly believe that they want to. And I know, we all read Marketing Week and Campaign Magazine, or you could highlight customer first about 50 times in every single article. I'm a CMO who's customer first. I believe in segmentation. All that stuff. But yet, when push comes to shove, when the CFO goes, give me my money back, they're like, oh yeah, let's stop those focus groups and stop that tracker and stop that survey. And we as an industry need to come that. So really delighted to have Red Blue market research agency, who have really kindly going to do some field work for us. They're going to go and speak to some CMOs. They're going to speak to some of us end users, some of us client-siders, and some agencies as well, to really understand how we're feeling as an industry about this topic, and how we feel we can all work together to innovate and come up with ideas on how we can continually drive value to the top, and stop the next crisis. And we win budget, and we continue to win budget. So option number one is, when there's a crisis and money needs to go back, it's not ours. Number two is, how do we continue to win budget? We need to go forward now, not keep taking the hits that we've been taking. So it's going to be a great piece, and we're really excited to get you guys and everyone that's listening today on board. And for me, it's going to be a project that, let's get the insights, let's see how everyone feels, and let's see what ideas everyone has, and move the industry forward.
Brilliant. So this is our, I'm mindful of time, and hopefully there's going to be some questions and some comments and stuff. But so our call to action, Rupes and my call to action now is, we'd really interested to know what the guys on the you guys on the call think, having listened to what we've said. We're very open to being challenged and to hear other perspectives and stuff. Once we've had that discussion, if you want to contact me, there's my email up there. You can contact us with your thoughts, ideas, offers of help and support. What we really want to do is, we want to get people in the industry as engaged as possible, to spread the conversation out, and to make sure that, to Rupe's point, we all start working together. Because otherwise, the research industry and the research budgets are going to shrink and shrink and shrink, and that's not good for us. It's not good for the heads of insight, and arguably, it's not good for the client organisation and the consumers that we can help bring insight to. So I'd like to I hope that's been kind of interesting and thought provoking. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And if there's any people's got any questions or any thoughts, then please do come forwards, and we can see if we can meet your questions.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Rupesh. Really good stuff there. I do have a question from Simon Wood here. First one to start with. So people, if you do have any more questions, please use the question tab. Potentially controversial question. Do research agencies need to revisit the types of people they employ to move away from methodological researchers and towards having more commercial consultants within the agency?
So I'll answer that. For what I want, well, this is from a client side of what I want. Yeah, I want.
Okay.
Yes, I want the geeks at the research agency, but I want them to do the research and to do it really accurately and make sure it's there. But I want someone at an agency who really has that entrepreneurial spirit, really is creative and idea generating, and really is willing to reach out to my end users and be proactive and go, hey, I've just done this piece of research. What I don't want is a business development person who doesn't understand either the methodology or how to speak to my end users. And so there's my client side tip. Yeah. I don't want a sales bod. I want a market researcher to do my work really well, and I really trust them with that. and I want someone proactive, entrepreneurial, and creative. And in my experience, I've got agencies out there that do that, and I'm proud to work with those ones. There are, however, is some that focus more on the geeky stuff. Well, great, that's fine. You can do my field and tab.
Good stuff, Rupesh. Paul, who do you think would be that entrepreneurial people in agencies who?
It's a really good question. I mean, and it's something that I spend, arguably quite a lot of time thinking about, because a lot of the agencies that I work with are dealing with exactly that issue and that problem. And Simon, hello, Simon. Thank you for that question. It's something that I think as an industry we do struggle with. We have historically, we as an industry, we're not very confident. We like data, we like facts, we like information to help us back ourselves up. And I think the challenge is to get researchers able and comfortable to not necessarily have all the information, but to combine what they've got with some understanding of the marketing issue that they're facing or the commercial issue that they're trying to solve, and combine the two. So I don't think we need to necessarily throw the baby out with the bathwater. I do think there's a it's always struck me as slightly ironic that as market researchers, very few people I know in the market research industry have got any experience or background in marketing. And I think that is a shame, and that's an issue that the industry does struggle with. But I don't think it's necessarily chucking out the baby with the bathwater. I think it's about helping the people we've got in the industry from the agency side be more comfortable and confident about what they do and how they engage with clients. To Roop's point, he wants the smart, clever, brilliant people that we've got, but he wants that combined with some commercial nous. And I think some of that you can train, and some of that you can learn.
Yeah, and on that point, on training and learning. Look, if the person hasn't got a CIM, that's fine. You just need to Google that stuff. You need like how many insight people really are sitting there watching Mark Ritson and reading Les Bennett and etc. Like we need to do that, because that stuff, that's what our end users read, and that's the language they use. Yeah. So I'm being a bit biased because I'm more on the campaigns effectiveness side, but even for the product teams, what is the language that those guys use? And you can train that, and you can work with that. And sorry, other heads of insights that are listening, let the agencies come and talk to these guys, spend a half an hour, shadow them, work with them, and understand their lingo, because that is powerful. And you'll come up with more ideas.
You've got to build that trust and that rapport, and that means that the agencies have got to move towards being more commercially focused and being less just about the methodology and the research, and more about the actual commercial impact of what they're saying and the insights they're bringing. But the client side need to move, I think, probably a bit more into the middle in terms of saying, actually, we do trust you and we won't keep you at arm's length. It comes back to this irony that we all want the same things. We all want to build research budgets up and do great research, but the two parties never seem to kind of quite see eye to eye.
And Rupesh, this question is for you. What if there are quite a few agencies on the rota? Like if you're working with 4 or 5 agencies, who do you collaborate with, or how do you collaborate with and trust and sort of go hand to hand?
That's a good point. Look, the media agencies can go to the top because there's one of them in each company, right? And the creative, there's a few of them. We're so fragmented. We have big agencies, small agencies, and etc. I think the ones that come to me first with the good ideas, I'll take them, because right now I've got nothing, right? So right now, the first agency that comes to me and says, "Groups, I'm commercially relevant. I've got a great idea for your company. I want to go and see your CMO." The first one that does that, they start on the road. Then
you're going to get a load of emails, mate, coming into your inbox in about 10 minutes.
But I to be honest, I will only give access to the person that is going to be willing to put the time and effort to work with me to come up with the best proactive situation, right? I'm not gonna take anyone, and and agencies need to be aware that if I do say sorry, that this is not my area, and don't get offended. It's just not my area. So yeah, be proactive. and go for it. But if you say something that isn't commercially relevant, it's a fine line, because I will then go, wait a little bit. Maybe someone else is willing, but everyone has their favored agency. Everyone has a particular specialism that a particular agency is good at, that they like. Bring them in, bring them closer, bring them straight to your end user. Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay. Is there any more questions, guys, for Paul and Rupesh?
If you'd like to know about our barbers, where we get our beards trimmed, I mean, anything like that's all fine.
So how long have you been in this business, Paul? Working with agencies and
Oh,
clients
geez.
together?
So I set up Client Advocates nearly 8 years ago. So I'd worked. I started out my career on the client side of things, then moved into agencies. I was with what was originally Taylor Nelson Software, showing my age, and then TNS, and then Kantar for a good old time, and then moved into another couple of agencies. But about 7-8 years ago, I'd kind of slightly grumpy and slightly bad-tempered and slightly grey-haired, said, it's about time I did my own thing. So set the business up, and it's proven to be, I mean, I'm really lucky. I love it. I get to talk to agencies and help them fix their problems. I get to talk to heads of insight and get them to help them fix their problems. And in the meantime, kind of have some fun and work with some really interesting, clever people. So I consider myself to be really lucky.
Fantastic. Good. How about we end up with on this note? Maybe Rupesh, you give us a tip on maybe one single tip that the head of insights at brands and end clients should be doing to encourage collaborative way of working with agencies. And what's one tip that you'd like to give? And I'll get to Paul.
Yeah. So my one tip would be, give it a go. Pick one of your agencies that you really trust right now, and get them to come up with a proactive idea, and say, use your chance. Imagine I'm the CMO. Pitch me something. You are my trusted #1 agency. Go and do it now. Send that email to the agency and see what they come back with. An agency, when you're coming back with that response, really think about what things you can really influence, what commercial relevance have you got in that pitch back, and screw the methodology on that particular piece.
Fantastic, love it. Paul, how about you? I mean, from agency side, what would your one tip be? That
I would. It kind of echoes what Roops has been saying. Segment your client base, segment your customers. You know the clients that you are close to and where you really understand their business, or where you understand their business best. Take one of those and actually have a really, really focused commercial conversation with the head of insight and say, look, we're experimenting with this. It feels quite scary. We probably feels quite scary for you too, but actually, you know what? There is a real opportunity for us to help you and for you to help us. This is what we think the thing should be. What do you think? I think we are, as an industry, we're not very comfortable with the hypothesizing. And I think, hypothesizing with no information and no knowledge is really dangerous, to Roops's point. But actually, if you know your client really well and you understand their business and their business issues, then do have the confidence to hypothesize and go and have that conversation with them.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, on that note, let's call this a wrap. And thank you very much for your time, Rupesh and Paul. Thank you.